It's time for ROTD Weekend. Marty and I are having so much fun doing those live cooking shows. We had one this past week and it was a blast. Thank you so much to those of you who are watching and commenting while it was happening. Marty reads the comments and questions, and so we're like interacting with people watching. It's really, really cool. And if you didn't see it live, you can still watch it. I will put the link to the show in the show notes for this podcast episode. Or if you go to YouTube and search for Cook the Story, all one word, you'll see my page there, or channel, I guess it's called, my YouTube channel, the Cook the Story YouTube channel. And you can click on the live tab, and then that takes you to the episodes there. The account is actually at Cook the Story 1059. I have no idea how that happened. I must have set that channel up like 10 years ago. So who knows what I was thinking. But yeah, so that is there. And we have another one scheduled for Monday, April 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So put that in your calendar. And yeah, it's going to be if you go to thecookful.com/demo on that date, then you'll be able to get to it from there. So if you want to put that in your calendar, you can put that link as well, thecookful.com/demo, and you will get to the April 27th episode when the time comes. So this is Easter weekend. I don't know if you are cooking, but I know that I am. It actually was my son's 18th birthday the other day, so we are doing a lot of celebrating for that, and we're also doing an Easter dinner. It's just small. It's the 5 of us, and I'm going to be coming home from improv. Marty, oh no, wait, we don't have improv. No, that's correct. They have canceled our improv class this weekend because of Easter. So we have our Sunday off, and I'm planning to make a small glazed ham. I'm going to do the brown sugar glazed ham. That is one of my favorites. I will link to all of these recipes that I'm going to talk about now in the show notes for you for this podcast episode so you can find them. But yeah, I'm doing the brown sugar glazed ham, like scoring it and then putting the glaze on it while it's baking, and it's going to get all like crispy edges and juicy sweet flavor. And I'm doing the scalloped potatoes that are like total family favorite. I do them every Easter and everybody loves them. I think I'm doing them with the cheese this year. I remember telling you that I don't usually do them with the cheese at Easter, but I think last year I did, and I think last year they preferred them. So I am going to do it with the cheese, and I'm also doing some carrots, I think. Oh, wait, I was going to do the brown sugar glazed carrots, and now I'm not sure that those will go as well with the brown sugar glazed ham. Too samey, you know? Okay, so I'm not going to do the carrots. Maybe I'll do just some like basic green beans in the air fryer, maybe. That'll be really easy and nice, and everybody likes green beans in this house. And then that garlicky spring mix tossed salad that I make. And the Paska bread. Okay, you guys, I do not know what to do about this. So Paska bread is a traditional Ukrainian Easter bread. It's a little bit sweet, but not super sweet. It has saffron in it, which is really delicious. And then it has golden raisins. You soak them first and add them. And it's just such a good bread. But ever since I've moved to Florida, I have not been able to make this bread correctly. And I thought it was just me, or I don't know what I thought. But then my mom was here a couple of years ago and she made it, and it also didn't work for her. She thought maybe I'd written the recipe down wrong, but I double checked with her just today as I was about to record this episode. I asked her to send me a picture of her recipe, and I compared it to what I have written down, and they're the same. So what's been going on is that the dough ends up so sticky. It's always a moist dough, but this is just like ridiculously sticky, and you have to keep adding more and more and more flour, and then it ends up a little, I don't know, it's just not right. And then it doesn't rise properly. It kind of falls. And this is that bread that, you usually do like a nice braid of dough on top. Like it's very decorative in the center of the table. And mine are always these like fallen in. They're like a sinkhole of bread. They still taste good, but not as good. And they kind of look weird. Anyhow, I have confirmed that the recipe is correct. And then I did a bunch of research, and it turns out that yes, here in Florida, our flour flour weighs more than elsewhere. And like mine is about 137 grams per cup, whereas most places 120 to 125 grams. And that is because it absorbs the water in the air, the humidity, and that is already hydrating the flour. And so then it can't soak up all the moisture. And that is why it ends up so wet. So instead of following the exact recipe this year, I am going to, what I mean to say is instead of following the exact recipe and then adding tons and tons of flour after, I'm going to test doing like 3/4 of the milk that the recipe calls for and see if that gets me the right texture. And if it does, I am writing it down on my recipe because I don't want to have that problem every year. It's so frustrating. But yes, we will have the Ukrainian Paska bread as part of our dinner with butter on it. And then the best thing in the world is the next day for breakfast, it is definitely toasted Paska with peanut butter. Oh, it is amazing with peanut butter. I think the raisins kind of do a little moisture, kind of like how peanut butter and jam is so good, you know? And then for lunch, absolutely ham sandwiches on Paska bread. I am almost more excited about the next day than I am about the actual day. I am also going to be turning our ham leftovers into ham salad, which is one of my new favorite things. I think I told you about it on this show, possibly just this past week. Yes, that is correct. It was just this past week. It's delicious. I put dill relish in mine instead of sweet relish, and I think it makes the hugest difference. And there's mayonnaise and the chopped up ham. Some people grind the ham or put it in a food processor. I have not really liked that in my life, so I finally chop it, and it's so good, like on little buns or with crackers as a snack. So that'll be in the fridge for everybody to munch on the days after Easter. So that's my plan. I might also do a trifle, a berry trifle. I don't have that recipe on my website, but I do it kind of just by, I don't know, instinct. It's like whipped cream with sugar and softened cream cheese whipped together. And then it's layers of lady's fingers with the berries and the whipped cream mixture layered one after another in a trifle bowl. And everybody really likes that recipe. And it's very like springy and light and fresh, you know? So I think that's what I am doing for Easter, plus one other recipe that I am going to tell you about after the break. It is a special one. Hang in there. I'll be right back. So yes, lately at this part of the show, I've been telling you how to make a recipe or a non-recipe, I guess, how to make something that I make all the time that I don't actually have a written down recipe for on my site. And that's partly like just to show how I normally cook, like when I'm just in my kitchen doing my thing. But it's also me making sure that all the recipes that I do are documented, or all the things that I cook are documented in case my kids ever want them. So I am doing that for both of those reasons. So you can see how I actually cook, and so they can learn from it. Not that they listen to this podcast right now, but they might one day. You never know, right? So the thing that I'm going to tell you about today is very special. I make it one time a year, and usually only get to eat it one time a year. But this year I had a very special treat when I was in Mexico very recently visiting my parents. I got to the condo, or we got to the condo. All of us arrived at the condo building that my parents were staying at, and they had stocked our fridge with a bunch of really useful things so that we could make like breakfast in the mornings and snack, that sort of things. There's like eggs and bread and avocado and some lunch meat and cheese and tomatoes. And my mom had made a little container of Studenetz just for me. So, what are Studenetz? Now, I know you're intrigued because that name sounds amazing and it's got to be delicious. It is a Ukrainian food, and I kind of don't want to tell you what it actually is because then you're not going to want to know about it anymore, possibly. But when you hear the word Studenetz, you are excited, and you do not realize that I'm actually telling you about head cheese. Studenetz is the Ukrainian word for head cheese, and it is homemade in a baking dish. And I love it with some salt on it. Some people put vinegar. What is it exactly? So it is pork, specifically pork hocks, that have been simmered for a long time with onion and garlic. And then you get a gel from that is so fortified with the, I guess, gelatin from the pork hocks that it forms like a jelly in the liquid. And so you have the meat and the jelly. I've almost already told you how to make it because that's all really there is to it, but I'm going to go into more detail. I'm telling you how to make Ukrainian head cheese, also known as Studenetz, and I love them. And it was so nice that my mom made me some, and I'm going to make some this weekend. Both my son and his girlfriend, Olivia, like it. They tasted it while we were in Mexico and they liked it. Marty did not taste it, or did he taste it and not like it? I think he tasted it and didn't like it. And my daughter didn't like it either. So I'm going to make a small batch, and those of us who want it will have it with our dinner, along with the ham and the, oh, did I mention the deviled eggs? I feel like I totally was incomplete in my recipe list now. I didn't tell you about the Studenetz. I also didn't tell you about deviled eggs. There will be my delicious herbed deviled eggs. So good. They have dill and chives in the filling, and oh, I'm obsessed with those. I will give you the link to that recipe as well. Okay, so to make Studenetz, you get out a soup pot and you put your pork hocks in there. They should kind of cover the bottom of the pot. I'm using 3 pounds of pork hocks. And then my dad really likes it with a little beef in there. If you can get a bone-in blade steak, that is perfect. But if not, then don't worry about it. You don't have to have the beef in there. And then you add about half an onion chopped up and a few cloves of garlic, like 8 or 9 or 10. And you add some salt and some pepper or peppercorns and just enough water to cover the pork hocks, plus a little bit, because the water is going to be evaporating as it simmers. So you want a little bit more than covered, maybe by like an inch. And I will actually tell you that I don't have this written down. I should write it down, but every year that I'm making it, I just end up messaging my mom and being like, is this correct? So what I messaged to her earlier today was, it's pork hocks and maybe a bone-in beef steak with just enough water to cover, salt, pepper, onion, garlic, simmer for a very long time, ? And she wrote back, rinse well too. So you rinse the pork hocks first, put a little more water because some evaporates. And if you have extra broth in the end, you can use it in a soup. And then she also said that she adds 3 or 4 bay leaves. Okay, so you simmer that for a really long time. You can even do it in the slow cooker overnight, like forever. It is cooking forever, really long time. And then you strain the meat out of the liquid, but keep the liquid. Put a bowl under your colander, strain the meat through there. Once it's cool enough to handle, you arrange that in a baking dish, like a brownie pan, maybe something a little bit bigger, 9 by 11, and you sort of like flake or shred the meat into there, discarding any bones or fatty bits, like anything that you don't want in there. There's sometimes some skin. Discard all of that, just the meat, and then you pour your liquid over top, and you want it just like less than a quarter of an inch over the meat. So you don't have tons of the jelly, just the right amount. It's like half meat, half jelly. That's perfect. And then that goes in the fridge. Once it's been in the fridge for a few hours, it will have firmed up. You'll have the meat and then the jelly. And then sometimes there's a layer of fat on the top that is like risen up over that. So to serve, you would scrape that fat off with a spoon, and then you cut it into squares and serve it with vinegar and salt. I don't like the vinegar. I just like the salt, but lots of people like the vinegar. I will just say I have learned so many things from my mom, and this is a great tip. Every now and then, your Studenetz do not gel, and who knows why. There just wasn't enough of that connective tissue, of the bone marrow, whatever it is that is causing that gelling. There wasn't enough of it. Maybe you did too much water. Could be just about anything. So what you're going to do is use some gelatin, and you want the gelatin powder. So whenever I am making studenetz, I make sure that I also have gelatin powder in the pantry. And then if things go wrong, I can do that. So then you follow the ingredients on your gelatin, which is basically dissolving it in some liquid. You would heat up your studenetz because it's sort of a little bit gelled, but not fully. It's not firm. It should be like as firm as Jell-O, you know? Okay, so it's not as firm as that. So you warm it up and then you strain the liquid off of the meat. And then you're going to add your gelatin mixture to the liquid, basically following the ingredients on the gelatin package, but dissolving it in the water. And sometimes you have to heat it. There's different procedures I don't remember off the top of my head. And then you will be adding it to the liquid that you strained off the meat. Then the meat goes back into the baking dish, and then you pour the liquid back over top, and then you chill it again. This keeps in the fridge for several days. So this is definitely like a make ahead thing. So if you do run into the gelling problem, don't worry, because you've made it ahead of time and there is time to fix it with the gelatin. So that is how you make studenetz, or how I make studenetz. I learned it from my mom. And if you've had them before and love it, if you love head cheese, you've got to try making it yourself. It is so good. And it just is something that we have at Easter every year. I have no idea why it's an Easter food, but it is one of my favorites. And I'm going to say thank you again, Mom, for making me some when I was in Mexico. That was such a wonderful treat. I had some every day till it was gone. On the last day, I had quite a bit of it with my breakfast. So really, really wonderful treat. I felt very spoiled on that trip. Okay, I will be back in just a minute to tell you what else is going on in my kitchen in the days ahead beyond the Easter cooking. Stay tuned. This is a shorter week coming up because my kids have Monday off. And so I'm taking Monday off also. Mostly I have one meeting, but other than that, I'm going to hang out with them and just take that extra day. So I have less going on this week in my working kitchen. And also there's going to be all the leftovers, and with all the extra leftovers in the fridge, I don't really want to start piling on more of them, which sometimes happens when I'm testing a recipe because I do it a bunch of times and compare and contrast and taste and all of that. But I am doing one. So I am working on a classic Italian bolognese sauce. This is the one that sometimes has pancetta or ground pork and also ground beef, and it has white wine and some milk in there that always surprises people. This is not your traditional American spaghetti sauce. You don't scoop it on top of spaghetti. Instead, you mix it with your hot pasta with a little pasta water and Parmesan cheese and stir it in the pot so that the sauce is just clinging to the strands of pasta, and there's little bits of meat in there, not tons. I probably do more than the classic Italian amount of ground beef ratio to spaghetti, but still not as much as that spaghetti sauce. So I am working on that this week, and I think that's the only one I'm going to be playing around with. So not tons going on in my kitchen. And, I'm going to a conference, a food blogging conference the following week. I can't believe it's coming so soon. Yeah, the following week, I believe, is when I am leaving for Austin. Maybe the week after. Oh, maybe it's the week after. Okay, good. A little more space than I thought. So I am keeping things a little bit slow just because we have travel coming up and trying not to be too crazy, but I am doing some more pasta testing next week. The week after this bolognese week, I'm going to be doing some more. So pasta all over the place around here. That is what's going on in my kitchen. And so what is new on the website? We had this past week, the Marry Me Chicken recipe went live on the Cookful. I'm going to be telling you about that this coming week, as well as about the pozole recipe that went live, about a week ago. So I'll be telling you about both of those this week ahead. Those are new on the website. The pozole is on Cook the Story, and the Marry Me Chicken is on the Cookful. They are both delicious. And I will tell you, both of them are easy versions of the dish, the pozole especially. really is a quicker, easier version. And when I was testing them and making them, for both of them, I was thinking, why are these not on my very frequent rotation list? Like, why do I not make these more often? Because they are so simple, but so delicious. The pozole has different toppings that you add. So kind of like the taco soup or the like burrito bowls that I make where everybody can kind of customize their own. My family loves that. We do a ramen like that too. So, it has that to it. So that means that everybody likes their dinner because they can put their own things on it that they like. And one of the toppings on the pozole is sliced radishes, and I love radishes. So does Marty. The kids don't. So it's a great way to use those and make sure I've bought them and have them because I like them so much. So yeah, those recipes are new on the sites. I will link to them in the show notes for you, and I'll be telling you about them this coming week. You're going to love them. They are so good. Okay, I think that is everything for today. If you celebrate Passover, I hope you're having a wonderful, beautiful Passover. And if you celebrate Easter, I hope you're having a wonderful Easter weekend. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookville.com, cook4two.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's get cooking.